bit of baseball if you really wanted to get into that as well. But again, kind of an overall quiet night, Preston, is we kind of tracked to the All-Star game. We tracked the SEC Media Days. And really, once you flip those two things, once you get past those two things, that's when it starts to really heat up, and that's kind of where we're heading and what we'll get into a little bit this morning.
Yeah, we're on our way. We're on our way. As you said, this is kind of the calm before the storm, I guess, and this is when, you have like the ESPYs and basically trying to fill this part of the sports calendar. But the storm is a-brewing. Coming.
Give us where do we stand? We got many a countdown going on.
50 days. 50 days until soccer plays Clemson, 51 days until Old Dominion, 52 days until the Southern 500, 5 short days until college football. And there was a big announcement, 2 big announcements yesterday with college football. We'll talk about those. 8 days until July 19th. And today's album of the day, Prince, Sign of the Times.
Now, Jen, you missed Guns N' Roses yesterday.
Yeah.
I was listening a little bit, though.
Yeah. Are you a Guns N' Roses girl/woman?
I do like Guns N' Roses. I really do.
Okay. So did you hear the bench cut start for us with Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, and Welcome to the Jungle?
I think you start Paradise City.
It's tough. I get it.
It is because honestly, I was looking for November Rain, which I know was different now.
Yeah, I would have thrown November Rain in there, but we were sticking straight to Appetite for Destruction.
Exactly. Yeah. Sweet Child of Mine. I'd probably bench it.
Seems like the common theme yesterday was Welcome to the Jungle.
Got cut.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's because
I think I stumbled. I think it's because it's just oversaturation.
It's overplayed.
We played it.
So.
We've heard it enough, and we understand it. We get it. But I think those other 2 songs you don't hear as frequently, and so maybe it just catches your attention a little bit more. I think that's what was going on there.
That could be.
I think that's what it is.
So we've got that all figured out, and we will move forward with that. If you want to revisit it,
Still always welcome to revisit.
803-404-6100. Monty also weighs in. He gives us his own countdown, 35 days until deer hunting season.
Nice.
There we go. There's a good countdown. Monty weighing in this morning. Thank you for that. Again, if you want to weigh in on anything you hear this morning, 803-404-6100. We'll do a little Braves Chop Talk as well coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Josh Harris at 8:30 this morning. Coming up next, we'll get into a little bit of positional rankings. Phil Still has put out, he's got his magazine out. I need to go and purchase it and get ready for this coming weekend. But linebacker rankings. We'll talk a little bit about it because it's kind of interesting. It's interesting to talk about these linebackers, a group that has to play better in 2024. We'll get into all of that. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen back in studio with us and running everything, cutting mics off when we say stuff she doesn't like or talk too much. We'll do all of that fun stuff this morning. Hope you're doing well, getting up and getting after it on a July the 11th, Thursday morning, 6:10 a.m. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Just a few years ago, Jacob helped me find a great interest rate, a great plan, and put me in a condo in Lake Murray. And guess what? He can do the exact same thing for you. I believe in Jacob, and I know how he handles his business, how he makes sure the paperwork is done, how he gives you a bunch of options to choose from. Let me give you an example. Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank, they have a no-nonsense construction loan. If you're thinking about building a home this coming fall, you need to get with the Mortgage Guru and see all about this no-nonsense construction loan and how it can fit your needs. 803-719-1005. Or you can email them, the letter J, Crowder, Crowder, at firstpalmetto.com. First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands, which means Jacob has local decision makers for quick and precise underwriting. Give him a phone call today and tell him you heard it here on 107.5 The Game with Bill Gunner, 803-719-1005.
No accidents to report. It's a good Thursday morning, and no major slowdowns either. So we appreciate that. And as far as your forecast goes, well, it's warm, but a little less humidity, and we're going to welcome that for sure. 95 will be the high today. 92 tomorrow with some scattered storms. A few maybe afternoon or evening storms on Saturday, and a high of 95. Sunny and 97 for your Thursday. So deep into those summer temperatures. Right now, though, starting the morning off at 75 on the early game.
.616 as we get you up and get you going here on your Thursday morning, just tracking closer to the weekend. And I did get confirmation from Austin, by the way, on the countdowns. Saturday morning, I'm told. it starts downloading.
Nice.
College football starts. Apparently, it's a 3-day download. And you mentioned there was some stuff that came out yesterday.
Lots of updates yesterday. We have new players. We have players' ratings. All kinds of things are happening.
So we'll get more into that as well. But something else that we're starting to do is slowly break down some certain positional groups. You talked about defensive linemen on Monday with Tyler Head, and one of the things that you had on the list is the linebackers today. And this is an interesting linebacking group, I think, Preston Thorne, from the standpoint of you lose your starter in Stone Blanton and you lose your kind of projected stud impact recruit, freshman Grayson Pup Howard, who transferred out after, again, being completely committed to the program. Just goes to show you that's a year-to-year commitment, no longer a 3 to 4 year commitment. But South Carolina goes out. They land two guys that I really like in Fred J.R. Johnson, 6'4", 240 pounds, by the way, is what he's listed. That's a big kid. Didn't think he was that big in the recruiting process. And then South Carolina also goes out and lands Wendell Gregory. Now, he is actually being listed. He's listed as a linebacker, and he's listed at 6'3", 245. So you see two bigger guys there as opposed to the kind of skinnier 220, 225 guys. South Carolina also went into the transfer portal and landed Demetrius Knight, 6'2", 245 pounds. He'll be a sixth-year prospect out of Charlotte, and they go and land Bangley Kamara out of Pittsburgh, 6'2", 229 pounds. So you've got four essentially brand-new linebackers to go along with Debo Williams. Jerron Willis is still there, who I thought started to come on a little bit towards the end of the year. Bam Martin Scott really did come on to the end of the year. At the end of the year, Mo Kaba really kind of developed. And Preston, it's a group that I think has a lot of potential, but is a complete unknown.
Yeah, it's definitely a complete unknown. These are guys we will be seeing for the first time, a lot of them for the first time, because many of them were not here even in the spring. And so we're hearing reports. But what we do know is that we've seen them play at the college level before. And you can kind of take what they've done at their previous stops, whether it was at Charlotte like Demetrius Knight or whether it was at Pittsburgh. They played decently high-level football. Demetrius was at Georgia Tech before that. Mm-hmm. So we know these guys are capable. They're not going to be deer in the headlights the first time that they step onto a major college football field. And we can talk about the transfer portal all we want. Yes, no, maybe, but this position upgraded significantly, even with the loss of two players who I would say were fan favorites and guys that everybody had very high hopes on. But to be very honest, did not produce a lot on the field last year. And so this position significantly upgraded through the transfer portal as far as losing guys and then replacing them with better talent. We'll
get to Phil Steele's rankings, but on Tuesday, Brad Crawford, who is usually on our program, joined Jay Phillips and Elijah Crawford on the postgame show, and he made a bold prediction on South Carolina's linebackers. Here's what he had to say joining Jay Phillips.
Almost two coaching cycles since the Gamecocks have had a true difference maker at that position. Sky Moore, I mean, he was a guy that led the team in interceptions at that one season as an all-SEC player. But I think right now this is the deepest linebacker room South Carolina's had, certainly under Shane Beamer, possibly under the previous regime as well. I mean, Bam Martin Scott's a guy who is going to take a major leap this season into that starting role. Debo Williams obviously is one of the SEC's hardest hitters and has shown flashes in recent years. But the two guys I'm looking at, man, are Demetrius Knight, transfer from Georgia Tech, who, Nick Emenwari has said on social media and various times this offseason that, Demetrius Knight's a guy who is going to be quite impactful at that position. And then Bengali Kamara, a linebacker from Pitt who's been uber productive in the ACC previously. So Gamecocks go about 4 deep at that position, feel really good about it. And I think, Shane Beamer may not have felt that way 5 or 6 months ago when he lost 2 linebackers to the portal. But the 2 guys he replaced them with are pretty darn talented players, and I think it's a position group that is no longer a weakness in Columbia.
One thing about this group, Preston, is the experience. Debo Williams is a redshirt senior. Demetrius Knight and Bam Martin Scott are sixth-year players, and Bangley Kamara is a fifth-year player. Now, you got your younger guys in Jerron Willis, who's a redshirt sophomore, Fred Johnson and Wendell Gregory, both freshmen. But going back to that, the experience factor, and you're right, two of these guys, Kamara and Knight Jr., have not played at South Carolina, but they have played a lot of college football, as you just pointed out.
Yeah, and experience at linebacker is extremely important because they are the ones who are the captains, not the captains, the quarterbacks of the defense. They move everybody around. They get people lined up. They tell people what to do, how to do it, when to do it. They're getting the calls from the coaches. They're the coaches' eyes on the field the majority of the time. And if you have a guy who's out there still worrying about how he's doing or still nervous or still trying to figure out what's going on, it's very difficult for that person to play linebacker. And that was the situation they ran into a lot last year. As you stated, Debo's been here for 10 years. The other guys are 60-year guys. So there's a lot of age for sure. And as I like to point out, Fred and Wendell have the oldest names in the group. If you was just to say we got linebackers Fred and Wendell, you'd say they were 65, clearly. Right? So a lot of age and experience in this group. What does that mean? I don't know, but it does mean that they won't be fazed by a lot of the challenges and opportunities that happen throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, we also leave Mo Cobb out there, who's also a redshirt senior. Mo. You know, I mean, again, you've got five guys right there, Kaba, Martin Scott, Kamara, Knight, and Debo Williams, who are all likely to go. It is odd to say when you have a redshirt senior in Debo Williams. He's kind of one of the younger ones of this group. But that experience, you go back and that group that played behind you, I remember Shannon Wadley. Mm-hmm. I think was Ricardo Hurley in there?
Towards the end, yeah.
Who else did you have?
I think that's a really interesting difference. When in the early years, we had very strong leadership guys. Marco Hutchison, Andre Offing, one of the best leaders that we had, Kenny Harney. Those dudes were extreme leadership positions. I think the later we got with some of the dudes we had later were more talented, but they weren't better at the linebacking position as far as everything that it entails to be a linebacker. When you have a linebacker, you have to be able to get the people in front of you lined up, get the people behind you lined up, still do your job, be able to communicate, set the tone, settle people down. And the guys that we had later on in my career were more talented for sure, but they weren't better at playing linebacker. And so hopefully with this group, you might have the combination of the two where they're talented but also seasoned and experienced.
I will say you can wish Stone Blanton well. He did save a game essentially for South Carolina.
Now, for sure. Now, yeah, whatever you think, never was a pro football favorite when we did numbers in here.
I don't know.
But if he doesn't make that play against Jacksonville State, whew.
Yeah, we might be having a much different offseason conversation.
We are having a different conversation. So shout out to Stone. You're forever etched in history. We appreciate that.
Now, the other part of this is Phil Steele has them as the 21st, rated 21st best linebacking group. I'm not sure how exactly to word that, but out of his positional groupings nationally.
Higher than I thought.
Yep.
Not higher than I thought as in I've evaluated them and I think they're here, just higher than I assumed he would have put them. But they're 21st. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 SEC teams in front of them.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, that's eighth, that's eighth in the league then.
Yeah.
So middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack.
I mean, the question, and we'll get into this when we come back a little bit. All right, defensive line was
20th.
20th. Linebackers 21st. Now, it's in magazines. It's talking season. It means nothing, but does it give you hope that this defense is ready to continue the momentum from the end of last year and take a step forward? We'll get into that a little bit as we roll along this morning. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Preston here for my friends at Absolute Glass. We've been doing the countdown, and it's time to get yourself ready. So they're the premier company in the Midlands offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. They'll come out to wherever you are, whether you're at school, home, work, it doesn't matter. Absolute Glass will come out and take care of it for you. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows and mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
We're not seeing any major slowdowns, any accidents that we need to let you know about at this time. And hopefully it stays that way this morning. 95 will be our high today. 92 tomorrow. Some scattered storms could be rolling in. And some afternoon or evening storms on Saturday with a high of 95. Starting off this Thursday morning, sun is working on peeking out. It's 75 on the early game.
8:31 as we roll along here, hour one of your Thursday morning edition of the early game. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen back with us, family all together. We will all kind of hang out together for several weeks now, get you through SEC Media Days next week and start the process of, because the following 2 weeks, so Shane Beamer will speak Monday at SEC Media Days. 2 weeks from today will be the Birdies with Beamer golf tournament out at Cobblestone. And again, we will hear from Coach as he gets ready for the season. And we don't have it officially. We don't have it officially, but we're estimating probably about 3 weeks from tomorrow, maybe 2 weeks. I'm not sure when their opening report date will be. But we're estimating probably to be in about 3 weeks. I know Shane, Coach, has already got it figured out. We just, as media, I have not seen it reported anywhere. I don't know normally if y'all reported on a Friday and started on a Saturday, or if it was, I don't
remember. I think it was by date. So
yeah.
It was whatever that actual date was. It didn't matter what day of the week it was.
So just we don't know the date just yet. Usually Coach doesn't tell us that until his Birdies with Beamer golf tournament. Again, that's 2 weeks away from today. But discussing the linebackers right now, and my question, 803-404-6100. All right, depends on, I guess, what you think of Phil Steele, right? Like if you read his magazine, you're like, oh, this guy's very smart. Phil Steele's a very smart fella. Then maybe you look at the defense now, as you said, defensive line is now ranked, or he ranked them 20th nationally overall. Not bad. Do you have where they're at in the SEC?
I do. They were ranked 20th overall. Let me go back through here. They were let me find it here in a second.
Okay, yeah. So to their defensive line is 20th. The linebackers now, according to Phil Steele, are ranked as the 21st best linebacking group. I have not seen the secondary yet. I've not looked at his magazine. That'll probably, again, be on my agenda today to pick that up. But the secondary is experienced when you talk about Eamon Warry, DQ Smith, O.D. Fortune in particular, and then throw in Jalen Kilgore, who played a lot last year, and they'll have to figure out who that fifth secondary piece is there at the other cornerback spot. 803-404-6100. Does it give you hope? Does it make you feel good about what this defense should be, especially early in the season in that LSU and Kentucky game, or the Kentucky-LSU game, as Lenoir Sellers really gets his feet wet and that offense tries to find a receiver to throw the football to?
Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily – you take one stance. Do I believe in Phil Steele? Do I really buy into all the preseason hype? Does it not matter at all? I was just pleasantly surprised that they showed up in the number. I did not expect them to show up because the top 25 is very high, regardless, and that's worthy of consideration. So what that means is that somebody, somewhere, Phil Steele and his minions have an opinion about South Carolina. I didn't expect them to even have an opinion. And so I don't know whether that works for or against you, because when you're trying to put a chip on your shoulder, do you think like, oh, he didn't rank us high enough, we're not even ranked, I don't know where you go with that. Ultimately, I usually fall inside of the preseason does not matter. But for so many unknowns, it is interesting that people are taking this team, the defensive side, into consideration. And
again, the way they kind of finished out the season maybe gives a little bit of hope, a little bit of peace of mind, even though you lost some guys. I always hate saying addition by subtraction, but maybe the loss of Stone Blanton and Pup Howard allowed you to get more athletic guys on the field. That's been one issue, and I'm interested to hear that, because the one thing that just jumped out to me as I was doing this and going through the roster, and these are the updated sizes, by the way, Preston Thorne. I don't know how
is this after a great summer and being in the best condition of their life? Or is this prior to?
These are the updated numbers on them. I'm surprised a little bit at the weight of some of these guys, just being into the 240s, because to me it still feels like the linebacking position is more of an athletic. You want the kind of almost the leaner guys that can get sideline to sideline, and it all depends on how you can run and carry that weight. But again, you're talking about guys. I feel like when we start talking about linebackers that are breaking into the 240s, you're talking about the heavy thumpers that are there in the middle.
Yeah, I have not laid eyes on them, so I don't know what those means and how they carry the weight and what 240 actually means when you look at the players. But I'm with you. The linebacker position has evolved to a guy that can run sideline to sideline. probably even more so than straight ahead. I think that's who Debo is. We know Debo's a heat-seeking missile, and wherever he goes, he will detonate on you, his teammate, the referee, whoever. It doesn't matter. But we do know that these guys do have a tendency to be able to run it, and that's what those two dudes who left last year, they were not able to do. And so adding that speed only helps everybody else in defense.
803-404-6100. We'll talk some basketball in just a second, but let's get out to the phone lines here. Vern wants to weigh in on the linebackers this morning. Vern, how you doing? What's on your mind?
I'm good. How you two men doing?
Doing good.
Yes, that's good too. Phil stealing up at a bunch of afterbirths. I wouldn't even listen to him, but I knew you all got a job to do. You all got something to do, and stuff. But what he said about Carolina got all senior on defense. And that guy from Georgia, he trying to steal all the Carolina recruits. What's his name? Y'all call him Kirby Smart. I call him Kirby Dumb. But I know Will Muschamp behind all that and stuff and things like that. But, hey, the Steele guy, he really don't know no more than I know about football. He just making a living and stuff and things like that. But I don't want people out there that know that who listen to it. I'm tired of seeing Carolina be disrespected. But, I know why. But, I'm not going to say that. But anyway, I just want to touch base with you two because, you all got a job to do. And I feel that sometime I got a job to do, to try to straighten things out. I know I never lived to see Carolina respected like Clemson. But anyway, y'all be blessed, just hollering at you, and stuff to let you know I'm still around, Thank you.
Good to hear from you. Good to hear from you, Vern. Yeah, I don't feel like this right here is disrespect, though. Like, I quite frankly, I'm kind of with Preston. I don't know what I'm looking at right now that would suggest to me that either the defensive line and or the linebackers are in the top 25 of their positional groups nationally.
Yeah, and I would also agree with you, Vern, and I say, I don't think Phil Steele is a guru. He just has access to all the information. He does all the aggregating that I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go look for the 20th ranked defensive line unit in the country. I don't care. I care about South Carolina. And so that's why these types of things are good. But with him having access to all that information, and I say him, all of the unit, I just didn't expect South Carolina to show up in these lists, and so that's why I was pleasantly surprised.
It's something we'll continue to talk about and get more into it as we roll along this morning. But some basketball news yesterday. We learned another opponent, this one in the Fort Myers tip-off for Coach Paris, and it's going to bring an interesting name onto the Gamecock radar coming up in November. Sean Miller and Xavier will take on South Carolina. Again, that'll be part of the Fort Myers Tip-Off Classic. It'll be November 25th when they take on each other. Virginia Tech and Michigan will be the other game. But the fact that it's Sean Miller, Preston Thorne, I think adds a little bit of spice here to this game.
It adds some intrigue for sure because of obviously the conversation that was being had. Now, I don't know how – I know that what's interesting to me about basketball is that their scheduling process seems to be a lot more like high school, where they just call their dude up and like, hey, man, you want to play a game? Yep. And they're like, yeah, where? Florida? Cool. And they meet up and they go meet. And so I don't know what the connections are, how they actually got to this tournament, but it is interesting that Sean's name was obviously connected to this job, and then Lamont ends up getting this job. I wonder where the connections are with that.
Well, one thing about this, it'll be the first time these two teams have played since 1941. I guess I look.
Yeah, that was a good one.
What I look at, though, is in kind of going back to your point real quick on the scheduling thing. I think I told you about being in Orlando at an AAU tournament, and you would go into the kind of coaches' the coach's break room or whatever, the hospitality
like
room
or something.
Yeah, hospitality room, and there was a big whiteboard, and it would say, somebody would write on there, looking for a home and home.
That's what it feels like.
Looking for a 3-game set, 2 at our place, 1 on the road, and then it would have a phone number of the. I mean, like, it was a very informal process.
That's exactly what I thought it was like. Like, hey, man, you know anybody that needs a home and home in October? Yeah, give me his number, and then they make it happen. And I like it. I like it because coaches are able to set their agenda, whereas in football, we have games scheduled for 5 years out, and it's very corporate entities that are all involved. I think this is cool, and adds some intrigue to the season.
What I do look at, again, going back to is, all right, how is this schedule starting to develop out? So we now know a good bit of the games for the non-conference games. We obviously know the conference games, but a good bit of the non-conference games now. So you've got Clemson, who will come here. South Carolina's going to go to Boston College. I believe East Carolina is also supposed to be coming here. Now you know about at least Xavier and potentially, well, I shouldn't say potentially, and either Michigan or a rematch with Virginia Tech from last year, depending on the win-loss situation there. So you're starting to learn some of these non-conference games, and I think what you see, to me, 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in, what I see is Lamont Paris being a little more aggressive, if you will, in scheduling up this year. I like where he's going with the schedule because of the team that I think he believes he's going to have.
You said we wanted to see what his scheduling philosophy was and how this related to what he would do for the year. Do you think that when he's making this schedule, he's looking at his team and saying, I want to test them early, I want to see what we got, as he makes a preparation for late season runs?
Yeah, I think you're more willing to test them and prep them for SEC play, and then what you would assume is going to be NCAA tournament play. And I think that's a really good idea. Whereas last year, what you had is a team that needed to build confidence through the non-com. And you don't get to choose your ACC opponent in this thing, so that would have been Boston College. I really thought, based on how last year went, South Carolina would get an NC State or a Wake Forest, more of a regional rival as opposed to being shipped up to Chestnut Hill and Boston College. But I like how he is scheduling this thing out. I like where they're kind of going with this and who they're going to play. And I think it's going to be a really, really fun non-conference slate for the Gamecocks, and we'll set them up. We'll give us an idea. Like last year, great non-conference record, right? You go to play that opening game against Mississippi State. I was like, I don't know who they are. I feel like when we open SEC play, I will know who this team is. We'll continue talking about that. And coming up next, though, what do we got? Prince?
Sign of the Times, Prince, 1987.
Sign of the Times. We'll let Preston Thorne break that all down in our music review. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Welcome back into The Quiet Storm. It's Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen's on the boards. This is Prince, 1987, Adore. This one goes out to you. Prince, man. Sign of the Times, 1987, Prince's double album. This was album number 51 on Apple's Music, and I have a feeling that we will see Prince again with Purple Rain. I haven't peeked. I do have a feeling that we will see Prince a little bit more. But this is the encapsulation of Prince, because Prince is so many different things at the same time, right? He's everything at the same time. In Sign of the Times, we see him come to life. So that was Adore, sexy. That's sexy Prince. Then you have Why You Want to Treat Me So Bad, guitar Prince. He's shredding on the guitar. Then you have Weird Prince, Starfish and Coffee. Listen to the song 1,000 times. I have no idea what the song is talking about. Starfish and Coffee, Maple Butter and Jam, Butterscotch Clouds on a Tangerine, Side Order of Ham. What are you talking about, Prince? I don't know, but it's still funky. Then we have Religious Prince, The Cross. In the middle of him saying that I want to be your girlfriend and being Adore, he sings a song to his Lord and Savior. But this is Prince. This is what he does. Also, you have Funky Prince, Housequake, Sign of the Times. Prince is talking about the world around him. Interestingly enough, you go and listen to Sign of the Times, lots have changed and a lot has not changed when you listen to the lyrics of that. So this is Prince in his full glory. I would say Prince at the end of his prime. So if Prince runs for about 10 years I was looking from like 79, the 80s is obviously locked down to about 9. I think it all ended with Batman. Once the Batman came out, I was like, all right, this might be the end of this thing. But for 11 years, Prince is the man or woman or whatever Prince claims to be at any given time. And Sign of the Times is the sign of this album. It's you go through and you read all the lore behind the album. It was supposed to be a triple album. His record label was like, no, we can't do that. So he trims it down to a double album. It was supposed to be an album where his alter egos, which is Camille, and you see that person show up at several points in this album. It's a production album. This is quintessential. It's not a greatest hits because there's so many other hits, but if you want to get an idea of scope of what Prince is, you could direct them to this album. Sign of the Times, 1987. Brilliant, brilliant album.
So let's go back just for a second here. Jen's been out because this has been a wide-ranging week for you. What was Tuesday? What was Tuesday? You remember?
I don't remember. What's today? Thursday?
Today's Thursday.
I have to go back and look.
Because I feel like you have jumped some genres here.
Well, we've been. Here's what we have been. We've jumped genres, but we've been solidly 80s. Solidly 80s this week. Obviously with Guns N' Roses, Prince, very, very similar times. Another thing about Prince, speaking of concerts, seen Prince 2 times in Colombia.
You did?
Which is amazing.
Wow.
One time in the early 2000s, he came and he played at the CLA, and then it was maybe in the 2011, 12, 13, somewhere in that area, he came to CLA again. And one of the best, I've gone to a lot of concerts, one of the best concerts because Prince knows what we were here for. We're here for the hits.
Yeah.
And it was just an hour and a half of just solid banger after another. We want to see Prince. We want to see you play the guitar. We want to see you do splits, jump on top of the piano. We want to see all of those things, and he did all of it. One of the two of the best concerts, but the last one particularly was, he had the stage was like the big guitar, and he's doing all kinds of weird things. He's humping the stage, all the good stuff you want to see from Prince. And the coolest thing about going to those concerts, it was like a representation of, you saw everybody in there, old, black, white, young. Every demo was there to see this weird little man, this 5'2" man wearing high heels and tights, play the guitar like a madman. Awesome shows.
So I got to admit, as it pertains to Prince, my only real, I've never got into his music. Mm-hmm. And kind of as I was growing up and developing, I was kind of missing, as you mentioned, 80s. 80s is quintessential Prince. Mm-hmm. Prince I knew was kind of a strange symbol.
Oh, for sure.
Like an odd,
and
like...
and the butt of jokes. You think about the living color jokes where he's wearing the pants with no seat.
Okay.
You remember that? That was the thing about Prince, that he had a symbol on his cheek, and it got real weird.
Well, and then, of course, the thing that's most familiar to me is the Dave Chappelle show skit. The Charlie Murphy, I guess I should say, skit about them.
Blouses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he becomes this, you kind of forget, this dude actually was really good music. Which, by the way, all of those Dave Chappelle skit shows, verifiably true. Each one of them actually true. There was something floating around with Kevin Garnett talking about how he used to play in Minnesota and how he went to Prince's house to play basketball, and Prince was trying to check him up, and he's like, "What is going on? You're 5'2". Why are you trying to play?" He's like, "Yeah, but he was really playing, man. He could play for real."
Yeah.
So it's a really, really fascinating story.
And I would be very curious how he was in person. Like, did he just like to sometimes sit and watch a movie and eat Twinkies? Like, is he just kind of a normal guy?
I've seen strange stories where like Prince floats into rooms and then he disappears, and just very mystique driven.
Yeah.
Very mystique driven. So shout out to Prince. I feel like we'll see Prince again with Purple Rain later in the countdown.
We'll get into more of this. Hour 2 on the way. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. With 14 acres of brand new Chevys, you need to get out to Love Chevrolet today and check out all the inventory, because right now they have some spectacular sales going on. Exclusive sales for Love Chevrolet on all lines of vehicles, whether it's a car, truck, or SUV. Love Chevrolet has got you taken care of. So go visit them. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Don't forget about that $1,000 low price guarantee, which means you can actually shop other dealerships around the Midlands, take their deal back to the folks at Love Chevrolet, and they will top it, or they'll write you a check for $1,000. But it hasn't happened yet, won't happen anytime soon, because the folks at Love Chevrolet have got prices that simply cannot be matched. Go find out for yourself. Again, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Get out to Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
As far as we can see, there's no accidents, no big slowdowns to speak of this morning. And it's going to be 95 for your high, 92 tomorrow with some scattered storms. And then maybe some afternoon or evening storms on Saturday, looking for a high of 95 before we ramp up to upper 90s starting on Sunday and really going into the beginning of the work week. Right now, though, it's 75 on the early game.
Seven o'clock. Get up and get moving if you haven't already started. It's a Thursday morning, July the 11th, where our countdowns are going on. And Preston, is this it? I actually was talking to a teacher over at Pine Ridge Elementary School yesterday.
Shout out.
And she was talking about, she's like, yeah, they got like 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
And it was like in her mind as we were having the conversation, she did the quick math.
She wasn't even there with you. Her soul has left her body. I hope you didn't bring that up. Because then she was like, really? Seriously? And then she just went to the laundry list of things that she has to do when she gets back to school.
I mean, it was part of a conversation. It wasn't necessarily that I brought it up, but it came up.
She left.
And you could just
her
see.
Her soul left her body.
Yeah, you could just see all of a sudden the hamster was running and the numbers added up very quickly. Yeah. And because I was thinking, I was like, hey, well, the kid's got about a month left. Now that's the kids going back, not the teachers who have to go back and start setting up the classrooms.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, school doesn't really start until the students come back. It's just like, all right, I'm back in school. I'm setting up. I'm in my classroom, going to meetings, whatever. But then the hellions are coming in soon, and you gotta get ready for them.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I say that with as much love as possible.
Yeah, that conversation was had yesterday, and we are in countdown mode for that. Last night, some soccer. Actually, yesterday was actually, if you want to go down a path, yesterday was actually a big soccer day. You had England knock off Netherlands 2-1 in the final seconds of extra time, I guess, if you will. Didn't go to overtime, but England wins that 2-1, so they'll take on Spain in the Euro Cup finals on Sunday. And then last night, Preston and I were just talking about it a little bit off air. Wild scene up in Charlotte between Colombia and Uruguay. As Colombia wins 1-0, they'll now get Argentina in the finals of Copa. But then afterwards, just in case we as Americans are not quite accustomed to soccer, but we're trying to become more accustomed, a nice little fight breaks out, and players for Uruguay are jumping into the stands to help out and join in the fight.
Par for the course. In deep Latin soccer, I think it's a little bit different down there. The passions run a little bit, and they don't advise it. But I would imagine that everybody who was at that soccer game yesterday from Colombia or Uruguay, they were like, things happen.
Yeah, I mean, come on. This all part of
light work. All
part of South American soccer, really, is after the game, if you lose, you go in to fight the opposing fans. You go into the stands.
It happens. And I'm trying to find various accounts. It's kind of typical that families were being harassed, players were being harassed. And I got to say, when you wear your Uruguay jersey and a sea full of Colombia jerseys, I'd imagine it's not going to be very friendly towards you. And also, you have to understand this too. Here's the real part about this. These are people who, I presume a majority of them live in the United States, and they have their opportunity to see their team. They're super fired up.
Yeah.
Because they don't get a chance to see their country represented as much as possible. So you have these two sides, and national pride is beaming as much as possible. Close ball game. If it's 3-0, 4-0, it's probably not the same, but it's 1-0. It's really tight. All the ingredients are there for a brouhaha.
Well, and I brought this up, and we were watching England and Netherlands yesterday, and I just brought up the fact that I brought this up with Tony Annan. I don't think as a country, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think as a country we rally around a particular sports team like other countries do for their soccer clubs, their soccer program, however you want to call it. Like, we don't care about. I'm watching right now, and I'll probably watch a little bit of like U.S. men's Olympic basketball. We don't rally around it. I'm not saying we don't watch it. We don't rally around it to the point that if they get beat, we're like, oh, they're failures.
Yeah,
and then we move on.
Yeah, because one, there hasn't been a lot of competition forever, and then when we did lose, it was like, oh man, so what's wrong with us? It wasn't as if everybody else was getting better. This year, there's going to be a competition this year. They probably will win, but there'll be some teams around internationally that'll really push the U.S. team, but we don't care.
Yeah, and that's now we care about our professional sports teams and our collegiate sports teams. That's what we rally around. But yeah, it's different when you start talking like country pride. 2 weeks from, I want to say that the opening ceremony for the Olympics is 2 weeks from tomorrow, I believe. But I believe the Olympics actually open up 2 weeks from today with a couple events taking place. So, but we'll get into if a gymnast is doing really well, if there's a swimmer that is catching our attention. You get the point. Like, we get into it a little bit when somebody captures our attention, but it's not like soccer where...
Yeah, because, welcome to your geography lesson. The idea of us being way over here, isolated from everybody,
it's true.
There's very limited chance that we're going to run into anybody else from another place. When you're in Europe, you might run into somebody from France, and then all of a sudden we're having a different conversation. Or you're in South America, you thought you was in Colombia, then you go a couple miles over, and now you're in Uruguay, and now we have to have a different conversation. And so, yeah, the national pride is a little bit different, especially in the sports teams, and it's really cool that these two things are going on at the same time, whether it's UEFA or Copa, are happening at the same time. Also, I saw yesterday some folks that were participating in Copa were talking about how bad Charlotte's field was again. It's come up again, and we appreciated David Tepper because he's just going to hold true. He's like,
Yeah, you're good. He has no clue how many points you get for a goal in soccer. He has no idea what's going on.
I think they said it was the worst pitch that they've played on all year. In the tracks.
I've heard a lot about that. That's having never stepped foot on that field. I've been in the stadium, but having never stepped foot, I can't speak to what that field is. But yes, it is a massive disappointment. But you had that. So you had the two big soccer matches. By the way, real quick, Olympics, just looking it up, says some competitions will actually start on the 24th. So I was actually a day short on that. So they will actually start 2 weeks from yesterday, but then opening ceremonies is Friday, July 26th, so 2 weeks from today, and we'll start getting into the Olympics. And sitting here and watching some, we'll be able to watch some in the morning and have a good time with that. The other big soccer news from yesterday, again, this is where it's kind of like, okay, I don't know. But Greg Berhalter, the coach for the United States men's national team, is relieved of his duties after, as it says, the Copa America failure. So now we're looking for a new men's national team coach.
Yeah, and Coach Annan, Tony, gave us maybe a heads up, and he said, he liked them, which always might be the kiss of death. You lead with that. But he said if they were going to make a change, this is the time to make a change, especially with the talent that everybody says that the United States teams has leading up to the World Cup. This is the time where they need to really utilize this space and opportunity. But just like I said at the 6 o'clock, in true sports fashion, everybody was ready to get rid of Berhalter and the name I saw floated to get hired, nobody was happy with. So, welcome to sports.
There you go. So it was big day, of course, for soccer really across the world, with America letting go their coach, with Colombia knocking off Uruguay, and again with England advancing to the finals. Yes, I'll actually be tuned into that, I think, on Sunday. I'll actually probably sit down to England and Spain. So there's your soccer update. As it pertains to other sports, we'll get back into some basketball. I forgot about a big game South Carolina's got lined up for their non-con. I'll remind you of that, and we'll get back into their schedule a little bit. Also, Colin Murray-Boyles, interesting what's going to be put on him this year, and he's getting a preseason award.
Get more attention. More list, more attention, more preseason awards, whereas last year he kind of came out of nowhere to the country, not to us, because we sort of even kind of came out of nowhere to us too, because he was tucked away in Utah, I believe. So even some of us were just finding out about him, but there's a lot more attention on him going out into this year.
We'll get into a little bit of him, and also just to make note, because she's just continuing to do Asia Wilson things. 24 points, 20 rebounds last night, her first 20-20 game.
Yeah, doesn't stop. Making a strong push towards MVP this year, which I'm very curious to see, because last year she finished fourth, but her team won the championship. And it goes back to the old, do you want to get the MVP, or do you want to win the championship? We'll see how that goes. And yeah, I made the proclamation that get ready. We're on a collision course, because both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are doing exactly what they do, playing well, and we'll be revisiting the conversation when it comes to the Rookie of the Year conversation.
803-404-6100. Also yesterday, shout out to Asia Wilson. It was announced that she will be featured as the WNBA cover athlete for the NBA 2K25 video game. So really cool. And I don't know if we at times give Asia, I think we try, but I don't know if we appreciate her greatness. And you mentioned it, winning at now all three levels, winning in high school, winning at the University of South Carolina, and now dominating in the WNBA. And a really cool, we've talked about her signing some of the mega deals that she signed recently. This is a really cool thing, I think, for any athlete that loves basketball to be a cover athlete on a video game, and especially NBA 2K25.
That's the game that everybody plays. That's the basketball equivalent to college football. Everybody loves 2K. So to be one of the cover athletes, one of three cover athletes, is amazing. Absolutely.
Jason Tatum will be the NBA cover athlete.
That's kind of boring.
So Jason Tatum and Asia Wilson. So shout out to Asia there for an incredible night last night. 24 points, 20 rebounds, her first ever 2020 game. And that goes along with being named as the cover athlete for the...
Did they win that game? I didn't see the score.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's a possibility that she would have done that. Because they're just middling a little bit. The Aces will be fine, but they're kind of middling right now.
84-79 last night, beat the Seattle Storm.
Gotcha.
So, good for her. 803-404-6100. When we come back, we'll get out to the Love Chevy phone lines, and we'll get into a little bit more college basketball. University of South Carolina finding out one of their opponents yesterday. We'll tell you about that. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Zero Rest Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. And you heard us, we were talking about slowly wrapping up, mind you, slowly wrapping up summer. Well, still, the kids are out of school, and that means they're probably tracking in a lot of dirt, grass, debris into your house, leaving it on the carpets, the rugs, the tile, when they come in for their afternoon snack. And that means you have to clean it up unless you use the cleaning pros. It's Zero Rest Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. That's exactly what I do, and you need to do it as well. With their patented ZR Water technology, it will keep your home insanely clean and keep it cleaner longer. So call today and line up your cleaning, whether it's your carpets, your air ducts, your upholstery, or your area rugs. Right now, you can get 15% off all cleanings. You heard that right. Carpets, air ducts, upholstery, and area rugs, all 15% off. Just mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, or you can go online, ZeroRestColumbia.com, and use the promo code Summer Sale. That phone number, 803-262-4020. Zero Rest, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
And out there on the highways, still not really showing any major slowdowns to speak of. So we welcome that. I'm not going to complain. 95 will be our high. 92 tomorrow, some scattered storms, some afternoon or evening storms on Saturday. 95 for the high. Then we hit 97 on Sunday. We get back into where we're more like 99 for a couple of days after that. But the sun is out. It's very nice. A little bit of a breeze. And it's 76 on the early game.
Rolling along here on a Thursday morning, July the 11th. Hope you're doing well as we cover a bunch of different stuff. We'll get back into some college football, talk some college basketball, some college football, though I do want to get in. I think Preston wants to get into a little bit of, boy, Deion Sanders was saying stuff yesterday. Shador Sanders was saying stuff yesterday.
As expected.
We'll get into that coming up in the next segment. We're talking a little college basketball. We were just talking about Asia Wilson last night. 24 points, 20 rebounds for her first ever 2020 game. Also, that coincides with yesterday being named as the WNBA cover athlete for the upcoming video game NBA 2K25 that'll be released in September. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. William wants to weigh in. William, how you doing this morning? Thank you for holding through the break.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I think that's awesome about Asia Wilson, man. I mean, I played 2K a little bit, so that'd be kind of cool. See how good she is, and Caitlin Clark, see what she's about in the game. But what's your predictions for this year for football for Carolina, and what wide receiver do you see possibly breaking out being number one? And do you think Beamer will be on the hot seat after this season? And I'll hang up, and thanks for taking my call.
Let's go backwards. Let's start from the back.
Okay.
Preston, I don't think Shane will be on the hot seat after this season, barring complete total disaster, which we all hope does not happen.
Right.
So even at the floor, which we're just going ceiling floor. Ceiling was predicted 8-4, floor 4-8. I don't even think a 4-8 season puts Shane on the hot seat. That's my opinion. It might warm her up a little bit. It might get some eyes, but I don't think it puts him on the hot seat. As far as the wide, that's me. Do you have an opinion on that?
No, 4-8, he's on the hot seat. He's not being fired. I mean, it's got to be a disaster of a year. And I will also say 4-8, you're talking about if that is how it were to play out, you're probably talking about winning 3 of your 4 non-conference games and then probably Vanderbilt. And then you look at the other, let's just hypothetically say if that were to happen, how badly are you beaten in the other 8? Are you even competitive?
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables to get to the bottom of that answer, to be quite honest. But I'm with you. 6-6, no. 6-6, no.
And again, it's hard to just do raw numbers because we'll get to the season, and as we all know, each season has a life of its own. And what is the feeling, the general feeling of the collective consciousness of the fan base, and all of those things will have to. But for my money, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Wide receiver room, it's a mystery. And that's not a cop-out, but we don't know who's going to step up in that room because maybe underrated in all of this conversation is how new this actual team is. Whether it's we know Lenore Sellers, but we never seen him play a full season. The running back room is totally new. Revamped. The linebacker room is brand new. So a lot of these spaces, we just don't have a lot of information about what's going to happen in wide receiver amongst them, not with a lot of guys who have returned or a lot of guys who have even played at South Carolina.
So I'll play the game, but I'm going to add a caveat to it. The 2 guys that I think step up as your leading receivers are not wide receivers. I'm going to go with tight ends. Brady Hunt was a huge pickup out of the transfer portal to the extent that it almost looked like they were going to lose him to Texas A&M, and people completely lost their mind. But I think Brady Hunt, who's again 6'5", he's a redshirt junior. He's listed He's listed on the roster as 253 pounds. But it feels like that's a good, safe, strong target for Lenore Sellers to develop on with early. The other guy that I thought we kind of waited last year and waited that I'm surprised came back. He's back for his 6th year, is Joshua Simon, the former Western Kentucky player who transferred in last year. And I thought Simon might have had a bigger year last year. I think he's adjusted. I don't know about the receivers. I have next to no idea. You know, we start just rattling off these names, whether it's Van Jacobs, the Florida State transfer, Delvon Campbell, the Nevada transfer, Jared Brown, the Coastal transfer, Gage Larvindane, the Miami of Ohio transfer, Amari Huggins-Bruce, the Louisville transfer. You kind of get the point. I mean, there's 5 guys on this wide receiver group that have transferred in as they try to rebuild it. I personally have no expectations for Nick Harbor. If he does something great, awesome. If he doesn't, I'm not shocked. Mazeo Bennett Jr. is a true freshman. Doesn't mean you can't do anything at the wide receiver position. It's just, I don't know. I have no idea when it comes to that. Tyshawn Russell is a guy that had a tough drop late in the season, but he's a guy that I think could step up and be a big-time player. He caught the long touchdown pass from Lenore Sellers, I believe, in the Furman game. So you see, I guess that's my point. I'm with you. That wide receiver room, it's wide open to me. New coach. I've got no idea.
So we don't know. I will say this: the only intel I have is that is it Jerron or Jerry Brown?
Jared is what.
Okay, I wasn't reading it, but I do know that his coach at Coastal was Perry Parks. Local was the former Ridgeview coach. He was very high on him and think he was very good. Was excited to see him get the opportunity. Obviously, not happy to lose him, but was glad that he was coming to Carolina. That's about it. And he got his stamp of approval. And if Perry approves him, then I'm willing to go with that.
Since we're on this topic, let me go to this text message from Marv and get your opinion on it as a fan. Because as a player, you're going to have watched, players will have seen Lenore Sellers and know what he is, I believe, early on. They've watched him for 2 years now, or a year and a half almost. But Marv says, will you know immediately if Sellers has the it factor, or will it take some games for you to form an opinion?
I think I'll know immediately. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think he won't struggle or he might have bad games, but if you're talking about the first time I saw Spencer Rattler in person, he was throwing warm-up balls, and I said, oh, that's different than everything else. Now, what does his season look like? I don't know. I think you'll know immediately if he has the quote-unquote it factor. That doesn't necessarily mean that he'll have a Heisman season, but I think you'll know. Bill, think about, without naming names, think about some of the other quarterbacks who took snaps at South Carolina, particularly maybe during the end of that Spurrier era.
Yeah.
And as soon as you saw them get on the field, you were like, and we were told that they were going to be it.
Yeah.
And you saw them take the field, and you were like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of two very specifically. And it was like, that's not going to happen.
To me, it'll be the Kentucky game. I feel like Sellers can handle Old Dominion. I feel like that. That's going to be my look. I think he's going to have a very nice game against Old Dominion. That'll be my prediction starting now through September 1 when the game is over on that Sunday. I think he's fine. Go up to Kentucky and prove it. That's where it is, because that's we will get. I was looking at just stuff to kind of bring up as we go through the next several weeks, and I think it might have been Jay Phillips and I were doing the cocktail hour for Gamecocks Plus, and we kind of got to the Texas A&M game, and I realized how vital that Texas A&M game could be. And I look at Kentucky and Texas A&M this year. Obviously, one game there in September, one game in November. Those are the two I think that define the season, and those two might be the two that you look at as like, that's the difference between, say, 4-8, 6-6, or even 8-4, depending on how your season is going. Texas A&M is going to be in a little bit of transition with Mike Elko for 1 or 2 years, I think, as he really implements his culture, if you will, which is going to be far different than Jimbo Fisher's culture. Look, there are players in that locker room that are still there that are like, hey, that NIL check cleared? Yeah? Practice? No. NIL check cleared? Yes.
Yeah.
Mike Elko, I think, is going to be a different guy, but I don't think he can go in and undo some of what Jimbo has created.
I agree.
With that. So I think this is a transition year, and that game being in Columbia, that's a monster game. South Carolina will be coming off a bye as well. But I'll go back to the Kentucky game. You go up there, new offensive coordinator for Kentucky, new starting quarterback for Kentucky, a lot of replacing on defense they've got to do. You know Kentucky's going to be physical. That's who they are. They're going to try and win 10-7. If Sellers goes up and that'll be kind of the game I look at and say, like, all right, can he guide a team where there appears to be, in my opinion, even talent? Even talent. Can he guide a team to a win on the road? That, to me, is the it factor.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Like I said, I'll be able to see how he conducts himself throughout the whole game of Old Dominion, and I'll have a pretty good idea of who and what he is. Like I said, because I can think of two very specific examples of we were told that it was supposed to be one thing, and very early in their tenure,
You could just look and tell.
I don't think so.
803-404-6100. We'll get back into the basketball discussion for just a minute. Also, start to get into some of that Deion Sanders discussion because, yeah, he said stuff yesterday. Are his wins judged differently?
I don't know
what
Deion was talking about.
Exactly. He made some sense, and then he did not make some sense. We'll get into some of that. 803-404-6100. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Now is the time of year where you start thinking about the back half of the year. You're like, all right, what are we going to do here? Do we want to refinance? Maybe we want to move. Maybe we want to upgrade, or maybe we're going to downsize the house. Whatever it is, the first thing you need to do is check and see what interest rates and options are available to you. And that's where the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, and First Palmetto Bank come into play. You need to see what options are available for you and how you can save money. So call Jacob Crowder today and talk with him about the financial options of refinancing, buying a new home, or building. And let me give you an example. With First Palmetto Bank, they have a no-nonsense construction loan that'll fit your needs. For more information, call the Mortgage Guru, 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. You can also email the letter J, Crowder, at firstpalmetto.com. He's the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank.
certainly am not wanting to tempt anything, but still looking pretty good out there this morning. Don't have any significant tie-ups to speak of. And our weather, it's looking pretty nice for sure. Looking for a high today of about 95. 92 tomorrow with some afternoon or evening storms, and 95 on Wednesday. Good grief, my days are way off. 95 on Saturday, a few evening storms, and we get into the upper 90s for a few days after that. But right now, holding steady at 76 with a little bit of a breeze on the early game.
$7:35 as we carry you through the morning here, as we've been talking some college football, good segment there, and Jen does a great job of getting it up on our podcast page, on our Twitter, on her Twitter account as well, breaking down a little bit more of the wide receivers for South Carolina and who steps up. Did we answer that third question?
I don't remember what the first question was. Yeah, I think we did. We got to the receivers. We got to the hot seat. We talked. Yeah, I think we got.
Okay, all right, yeah, but the receivers. I don't know. And
that's the professional opinion. I don't know.
And that's probably not the answer you want when you're starting a brand new quarterback.
You would like to have some more certainty in the room, and maybe there is. Maybe there have been things that have happened over the summer where guys have stepped up and seen who's going to take the reins on those positions. I think that is probably the spot where the coach can honestly say it is an open competition.
Yeah, 803-404-6100. A couple of y'all weighing in. I don't know if I agree with Brad on this. He says if you have eyes, you already know he has the it factor. On Lenora Sellers.
I'll say this. He's done things every time he's touched the ball to indicate that we should be excited about his.
I'm excited about him. I'm still meter's still pretty low.
That's fine.
As we hit July 11th, but I am excited about him. But I want to see him do it when it means something, because there's three plays, obviously three right now, that stand out, and one of them is the one-handed his freshman season. Let's go back his freshman season. I'm trying to remember the exact play, but in the spring game where there was like a bad snap and he one-handed it and somehow avoided the defense and chunked it down the field. Obviously the throw against Furman, and then the run against Vanderbilt in the rain when Vanderbilt had basically thrown the white towel and said, please stop this thing. So I'll be interested to see more of that from him. 803-404-6100. We'll get into some basketball talk coming up in the next segment. I keep teasing that, but we will get into that as it pertains. It's nothing new, nothing major. South Carolina, it was announced yesterday for the Fort Myers tip-off. They'll play Xavier, and then also we were talking non-conference schedule. One of the games I left out, we were talking about fun non-conference schedule for South Carolina this year. One of the games I left off was a trip up to Assembly Hall in Indiana. And so I will come back into that. They'll play Mike Woodson. Oh, boy. Yep.
Still around.
Still hanging out there.
Wow.
Yep. So we'll talk some basketball a little bit because Colin Murray Boyles got an award yesterday. But let's go back to
strong goatee, Mike Woodson. Probably the top goatee in the game.
Okay.
Just Google it. Very strong goatee.
We'll save that. We'll save the goatee discussion. Yesterday was Big 12 Media Day, second day. They only do two. They're not worried about 4 days of this stuff. They're like, let's get in, let's get out. Mainly because I do feel like Deion Sanders would take up 3 days. He would just be like, put me on for 3 of the 4 days and let me talk. He talked yesterday. I tell you what, Jen, let's play clip number 1 here. Now, this is Deion. He says my wins are judged differently, and then we will try and decipher what Deion is trying to explain. Here is Deion Sanders at Big 12 Media Day yesterday.
They're really darn good, and I'm mad at Rick right now for putting them on the schedule to open up with them. Like, can you give me a layup or something? Like, those guys are wonderful. Their staff has always been amongst the best. Many people have, but
let's go take 2.
Sounds good.
We'll try this again.
One more time.
Yes, I'm judged on a different scale. My wins are totally different than your wins. Your wins, you just judging football. That's why I have to start out and give you education and academics and so forth. I have to give you those things so you understand there's a greater scope. I can't win 9 games and our GPA suffers. Our GPA can't be high, but we lose another 8 games. We can't not go and grab high school players and you got a bunch of guys in the portal, out of the portal that's getting incarcerated. My wins are different. We have to win in every area. That's the way we're judged. And I'm cool with that because we come a little different. So the expectation is greater. But it's not just football. It's been like that all my life. I've always had a greater expectation for myself. So the expectation you have for me would never outweigh the expectation I have of myself. Thank you. That's a wonderful question.
And I answered it wonderfully.
He said thank you while he was also patting himself on the back. Yeah.
Listen, man. Okay. What Deion, I think what he was attempting to say is that he taking care of the whole person. But as you said, he's patting himself on the back for the things that many coaches around the country do. Yes, we know it's a business. Yes, it has become more transactional, but many coaches around the country care about their athletes graduating, care about their athletes getting an education, are not only in it for the wins and losses. He's trying to put himself as some type of martyr or some type of angel. And it's cool. We get it. That's great, your intentions, but you're not the only one with those intentions. And so congratulations, Deion. You're doing what a lot of other coaches around. I think you might have just discovered that, but there are a lot of people who do this. And so it's like, all right, congratulations, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you have Deion talking, and then you had his son Shedeur talking. And Shedeur yesterday talked about how important Colorado is and how they are everybody's Super Bowl game. Here is Shedeur Sanders yesterday at Big 12 Media Day.
Been there since day one. I remember first media day when I was in HBCU, I said we won't lose a game. I'm undefeated in the SWAC, so I already know what the expectation comes with. I know we're everybody's Super Bowl, so I'm really just, I always stay level-headed, stay grounded because I would never want to be that guy, look back, and not being able to take advantage of the moment that we have right now.
You want to explain that one?
He's learned from the best. He said it. He sat at the throne for a long time of being able to not say anything very eloquently. No, I don't know. I don't know what he was saying on that. If I was from Jackson State, I'd be like, "What you mean? Why can't you say our school by name? You're just gonna say HBCU. What's up? You didn't go to HBCU. You went to Jackson State, homie.
Right.
What's up with that? Almost like you just used this to be a stepping stone to your next spot. Wonder what that's about. But
isn't he also factually incorrect? Didn't he quarterback the game against South Carolina State?
Oh yeah, maybe. Well. Actually, he's technically correct because he said he didn't lose a game in the SWAC.
Okay, all right.
So he is technically correct, Bill.
Okay. Boy, Deion and Shedeur yesterday. I tell you what, Jim, let's do this. This is also because we've laughed about this. And this is the clip you started to play. This is clip 3. And this is Deion talking about opening up with North Dakota State, which is not going to – I know they're a little different. The transfer portal is taking a little bit away from their team. But this is Deion talking about their Thursday night opener, August the 29th. It'll be on ESPN. It is against North Dakota State.
They're really darn good, and I'm mad at Rick right now for putting them on the schedule to open up with them. Like, can you give me a layup or something? Like, those guys are wonderful. Their staff has always been amongst the best. Many people have matriculated from that staff to go to higher levels. Those kids play their butts off. They're tough. They don't make many mistakes. They're accustomed to winning. They don't give a darn about being at home or on the road. That does not faze them whatsoever. We just can't wait to see it. I know it's a national television game. I believe it's a Thursday night game. Hopefully not too late. But we can't wait to see them. It's going to be a phenomenal game. Phenomenal.
Here's where Deion and I agree. I would definitely walk into my AD. I'd say, Coach Tanner, why did you do this? This is absolutely ridiculous because North Dakota State is always good. And not only are they always good, but they play a brand of football that you just don't want to see early in the season. They play line them up, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We're going to pound your face into the meat grinder and see if you can last through the whole game. And quite honestly, that's not what Dion and his teams have shown us that they're designed to do. So that'll be an intriguing matchup.
We will get back into a little bit of basketball discussion, just kind of recap that. Colin Murray-Boyle's getting an award, and we'll talk a little bit more about Deion Sanders as well, get into a little more South Carolina football discussion. A lot to get to as we roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
I can't find the award.
Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing and owner-founder Larry Leitner have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. It is their proven history that's your assurance that they will get the job done for you in a timely and professional manner. They'll give you the proper advice, service, and it will provide the results that you need for your facility. And let me tell you something. You might not be thinking about your roof right now. You might be thinking about lunch this afternoon or what you're going to do this weekend. Mid-State Roofing is thinking about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's why they're there and ready to help you. 803-356-1919. Again, it's 803-356-1919. You can call Mid-State Roofing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they will help you with a maintenance contract because they are always thinking about your roof. So go ahead, call Mid-State Roofing today. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. Wrapping up hour number 2. Coming up in the next segment, we'll get into the little Atlanta Braves, some chop talk as we break down where the Braves are at here heading into next week, where we will have the All-Star game. But Braves last night, I think dropping that one to the Arizona Diamondbacks, they had turned things around a little bit, but last night I believe I saw that going the other way. We'll talk Braves and where they stand right now. Yeah, the Diamondbacks last night 7-5 over the Braves. 803-404-6100. We talked a little bit about college basketball. The news coming out yesterday for South Carolina that they will. We now know. We knew they were going to play either Michigan, Virginia Tech, or Xavier in the Fort Myers tip-off in the opening round, if you will. We now know that they will play at 8:30. They will play Xavier at 8:30 on Monday, November the 25th. That'll be followed up. They will play again on Wednesday, November 27th, win or lose against Michigan and Virginia Tech. Just for the record, Michigan and Virginia Tech is technically the third game in the series. There's 4 games that day. Miami of Ohio versus Siena, Jacksonville versus Mercer, and then you get into what is the Beach Division of this Fort Myers tip-off, which is the bigger division. Michigan and Virginia Tech at 6 o'clock, South Carolina Xavier at 8:30. So we now know another marquee opponent for South Carolina. We know 2 of them, Michigan or Virginia Tech. We know they'll play Xavier. South Carolina also has a trip to Indiana, a trip to Boston College. Clemson will come to Colonial Life Arena. That's a pretty solid non-conference schedule to get a little excited about.
Let me ask for clarification. Is this a tournament or like just an invitational shootout type of thing?
Yes, they would win something.
If they won,
yes.
So there's a bracket and all of that?
Yeah. Okay,
cool. All right. I wasn't sure what the format was. Yeah, to go back to your point, very solid non-com, very not name brand schools that you would recognize on the basketball map, schools that I'm not sure that they would get that excited about playing us as we are about them just from their fan base because, again, South Carolina, though we made a little bit of noise last year, I would imagine the folks at Indiana don't particularly think of South Carolina when in terms of basketball, probably Xavier too. So it's an opportunity to kind of run up and maybe surprise some fans, not the team, but some fans for sure.
Look, I love what Lamont Paris is doing with this non-conference schedule right now. Last year, I felt like he had to have, especially if we backtrack 2 years ago to the first year of Lamont, I felt like last year's team needed to get off to a good start and gain confidence.
This is very interesting. If you talk especially with high school coaches, they usually fall into one of those 2 camps of I'm going to schedule pretty easy early, get my team some wins, build up confidence, or other coaches I know, and these are, I'm thinking of 2 coaches specifically, very highly respected, wants to challenge their team early, and they feel like they can coach them through regardless of how many times they lose early in the season. They want to prepare them for the end of the season. Both ways work, but as you said last year, with an unknown team, it might have been nice to get some wins under your belt and get some confidence early.
And look, I think it paid dividends when they got to SEC play. There was confidence there. Obviously, they were a good basketball team, but they were a good basketball team that was playing with confidence, not a good basketball team that was unsure of themselves. And I feel like prior to Lamont Paris, we might have seen that at times. Good basketball teams that were unsure of themselves and didn't know how to win at particular moments.
And also not just the players, but the coaches too.
Yeah.
Because Lamont had a tough first year. And yes, you can be very confident and understand what your system is, but up until last year, he didn't know that it would work. You can think it's going to work. You can feel like if I get the right pieces, it's going to work, but you still have to have a proof of concept. Well, and now he has that.
I think more so the coach might know it's going to work, but the players, if you're losing, are like, coach says it's going to work, but I don't know about this.
There's nothing like winning to make you believe in what the coach – when the coach has you doing some ridiculous drill for the 5th time and you're losing, you're like, why are we doing this? Yeah. When the coach has you do that same stupid drill and you win, it's culture.
Which, by the way, was almost the exact opposite. It felt like for Dawn Staley because last year, remember, she would get mad, call her kid. But they're like, Coach, we're winning. It's working. What we're doing is working. And Dawn's like, not doing it my way, though.
I contend last year was the most challenging year of Coach Staley's career, for sure.
Hour 3 on the way. We'll do a little chop talk. We'll talk a little NASCAR. We'll even talk a little more college football, maybe some more Deion Sanders. It's the early game.
And it's been a pretty good morning so far as your commute is concerned. We haven't really had any major slowdowns, no accidents that we have reported. And we're looking for a high today of about 95. Tomorrow, 92 with some scattered storms. And on Saturday, maybe a few afternoon and evening storms, 95 for the high. Sunny and 97 on Sunday. Then we hit the upper 90s for a few days. Monday and Tuesday looking like highs of 99. But right now the sun is out. It's a little bit of a breeze. So it's really not too bad. It's 96 on the early game.
.801 as we head into the final hour of the Thursday program. Been a lot of fun so far, talking some college football, talking some college basketball, talking a little soccer, because big day in soccer yesterday across the world. You got Colombia knocking off Uruguay in the Copa America Cup last night, and then fighting in the stands. Why not bring a little South
Per usual.
Yeah, just little culture to America on how to handle soccer. Colombia, though, with the victory last night. So they'll take on Argentina in the Copa America finals. And then across the pond, over in Germany, England knocks off Netherlands with a goal. It was actually really cool. Like final seconds of regulation yesterday to beat the Netherlands 2-1. Actually came back in that game, that match. They were down 1-0 and were able to come back. Harry Kane drew a penalty. I say drew a penalty because I don't know if it was a penalty, but he got kicked.
He deserves it. He gets the Jordan rules for my man Harry Kane.
He got kicked. He rolled around for a minute. They replayed it, reviewed it, they VAR'd it, and lo and behold, he gets a penalty kick in the box and takes advantage and tied it up 1-1, and then England scored in the final second.
That's the best part about soccer is that you got to sell the call, but much like my toddler, you got to look and see if the person's paying attention. So, like, you lay on the ground a little while, and then you roll, and you're like, did they call it yet? And if they didn't call you, you got to sell it a little bit more. And then you finally get the call, and magically you get up and you go to make the kick.
Yeah, well, that's it. And Harry Kane pulled it off yesterday, so England.
And, we're not known as the soccer show, but when Tony Annan was in here, we did lead the show with, can Harry Kane still do it? So I'm not saying this is the place to be for soccer. I'm just saying that if you want to be anywhere for soccer, this might be the spot.
We are your home.
We're on top of it.
We've got you covered.
Mm-hmm.
And so Colombia wins, England wins, and if that wasn't enough, we fire our national coach, Greg Berhalter, because we've seen enough, and we want to win too.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I've seen enough too. I mean, get them out of here. We've been here having this conversation for a while, and according to all the folks who I know who are into soccer, we actually have a shot to be pretty good as the United States, and so we need to have a manager, I believe is the term, that can take them to the next level.
I'll tell you what, Jen, we're going to do some chop talk here in just a second. But, Jen, let's play real quick number 13 here. This is Alejandro Moreno saying Greg Berhalter, the firing 2 years too late for the men's team.
Sports.
A little sporty sports. So here's Alejandro Moreno on Greg Berhalter.
To your point, these were failures in prime time. Mm-hmm. open signal for everybody to watch in a tournament that had been billed as what we thought to be an appetizer to the World Cup, right? This is what we're going to see, what the U.S. is going to do in the World Cup and how they stack up against top teams in this region, and potentially how will they stack up against teams from Europe coming to the World Cup. And that failure happened on prime time. And of course that brings attention. But I just think this is, overall, this is 2 years late. Yeah. This should have happened after the World Cup was over. Now you sort of marry yourself to this idea of Greg Berhalter continuing, and because of this failure, now you have to sort of reshuffle the pack. And now what I think is critically important for this federation and for this national team is that they get this new decision correct. That they're able to figure it out. What is it that they want to do? What is the path going forward? And who is this manager that will indeed get the most out of these players, get the best out of these players, and gets excitement around this national team to rebuild some of what has been broken down.
But very professional. We couldn't have voiced
That's one of the best
better.
clips. That's one of the best clips we played.
An appetizer.
I loved it. Oh, that was a little bit of flair on it. Danny Colson says that it's too late, and wonderful clip. And again, this is not the show that you would come to for soccer, but as he stated, as I've heard, we actually have a chance to be decent, and we don't want a manager at the helm that cannot help them maximize their potential. And listen, I'm not a soccer guy, but it's always fun when the United States is involved in something and actually has a chance to win. I'll be right there. I'll put on the jersey. I'm here for it if we have a shot. And he brought up one of my favorite points, Bill. I go back and swing this back to Mark Kingston. You can fail, but you can't fail on prime time.
That's a good point.
Was it Georgia Southern?
Yeah, the 8-0 game.
8-0 against Georgia Southern. I said that was bad, but it was really bad because we all saw it.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing. When it's on prime time, I don't know what it is, but just failing in front of a lot of people watching, it magnifies the loss. And so my advice to coaches, win all your primetime games.
Fail in secrecy.
Yeah, 12 o'clock.
When we don't see it, we're like, oh, maybe it was just a bad game. I don't know.
Yeah. But if we're all watching it,
good point.
That's tough to get around.
That's a good point. That Muschamp game to the loss to Lane Kiffin, the failure in prime time, that was the tough one.
I'm just telling you.
There was a couple of tough ones, but yeah.
It's something about losing when we're all watching, and ugh.
Oh, there you go. 803-404-6100. Let's get into a little bit of chop talk this morning here. The Braves getting ready for another series. They lost last night, but do a little chop talk here with Preston Thorne. Jen, I tell you what, we'll go ahead and play our intro.
Chop talk.
Hammered, left field, gone! Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
On the Early Game is sponsored by Carolina Turf and Grass on the Game Network.
All right, Braves were rolling along, Preston Thorne. They were on a gravy train with biscuit wheels. 4 straight going into last night, and they'll take on the Diamondbacks again tonight, 9:40. But last night a 7-5 loss. But they had taken previously 2 of 3 from the Phillies. Those were in Atlanta. Now they're out west. They're 8.5 games back. Philly is they're lighting up. But they're lighting up Los Angeles. Beat them 10-1 on Tuesday and got them 4-3 last night. Philadelphia right now is playing as the best team in Major League Baseball. The Yankees, by the way, are completely unglued. Mm-hmm. But what great stat do you have for us today?
Bill, we have a combination of some of my favorite stats and some of my favorite things to talk about. The statistic that we're going to talk about today is AGE.
Oh,
you know what that is? Age.
Okay.
Now, if I say he's 40, you automatically say who?
I actually say Charlie Morton.
There you go.
Yeah. Well,
but Charlie Morton's not the only 40-year-old on the Braves pitching staff. Jesse Chavez, all-star snub, middle reliever. He's also 40 years old and having a wonderful season because now we can get into the real dorky talk of his whip.
Oh, good.
Percentage.
Look forward to this.
Bill, the whip. Do you know what the whip is? The whip is walks and hits per innings pitched.
Okay.
And Jesse Chavez has a 1.078 whip, which puts him at around 18th in Major League Baseball. The whip is, you can either be impressed by the whip or you can be impressed by the AGE, because he's 40 years old also.
Very solid.
And an article I was reading, which he's getting snubbed from the All-Star game, so that's not cool. But he was talking about how him and Charlie have a lot in common, and him and Charlie hang out.
Early bird dinners.
Yeah. The two, and it was pretty wild.
Solitaire
when I was doing
room.
the research and I was looking at his birthday, and it was like 83. I was like, that looks strange for a professional athlete. Not used to seeing that. But Jesse Chavez having a great season, and what he's really doing, what's impressive about him all year, obviously Chris Sale just won his 12th game, leading the major league in games, which as a front office, he's coming up on a contract year. Are you happy about this? Are you not? How does that work? Because you want to see your team win, but however, this was a guy you were probably planning on letting walk after this year.
I don't know. It's really interesting because the Braves have a lot of money tied up, but they have a solid rotation with Sale, with Max Fried. We forget about Spencer Strider. You mentioned that AGE. Sale will essentially start next season at 36. At 36.
Not young.
Can you finagle a contract that isn't maybe as high as he might consider, maybe not as low as you would want, but to keep him for a small window of 2 or 3 more years to go along with Strider? Look, at some point, Charlie Morton and the other guy have got to move on here. We got to go in a different direction. But the truth is like with Chris Sale, you look at it, age 35, again, at the start, his birthday is March 30th. At the start of next season, he'll be 36. You have him, Strider, Max Fried. They've got a nice rotation going for them.
Well, I mean, he has all the leverage right now because he's pitching so well. And I would imagine that the Braves front office were probably going to let him go at the end of this year. They were going to see how the contract worked out. You don't hope that he doesn't have a great season, but now that he's having a great season, I'm sure his agent is having a lot of conversations saying, hey, look, you want to get this done now? What are you trying to do? There you again, you have the age conversation. Do you sign a 36-year-old to a longer-term deal that's a pitcher? Probably not in your best interest.
Well, they got.
I don't know.
Ronaldo Lopez is 7-2 on the season. Let me see if I've got his whip here in front of me.
Yes.
Whip for Lopez is 1.13. Chris Sale, by the way, 0.94. Lopez actually has a lower whip, since we're covering that today, than Max Fried right now. But they also really like Spencer Schwallenbach, who they've brought up, younger guy.
Young guy.
Obviously, we continue to mention Spencer Strider. He will be back. So, maybe you look around and you're like, oh, all right, Chris.
Thank you for your service.
We appreciate you carrying us through a year in which there's a lot of injury.
It's very possible. And I would say if I was in the front office, that's the direction I would lean, just because I would be very hesitant to sign a pitcher at that AGE for a long-term deal. Now, if he was willing to work with me for a year or two, maybe a quick extension, maybe. But I don't think if I was his agent, I'd say no. We need to get this money now.
We'll see what happens there. Again, the Braves will wrap it up in Arizona tonight, 9:40 game, and then head to San Diego for a 3-game series before heading into the All-Star break. And again, to me, they're holding on for dear life. 8.5 back of the Phillies. That's not impossible to overcome, although the way Philadelphia is playing, it is certainly not going to be easy at all. As it pertains to the wild card spot, the Braves right now do lead the wild card spot. They are 4.5 up on the Cardinals right now, so they're in a good position in terms of getting to the playoffs, or at least having that play-in game, depending on how things continue to play out. But the Braves are in a position right there to make the postseason.
That's why they're in a tough spot as far as the front office is concerned, because there probably was a motivation to maybe punt on the season when you get Strider hurt and Acuna hurt, but now you have a chance to make the playoffs, and baseball has shown us that if you can just get in the race, you have a chance to win the series, especially with the pitching that has been good to this point. So I say all that to say I don't know whether they're going to be buyers or sellers. They're not going to be sellers, but I don't know whether they're going to try and make something happen at the trade deadline to try and boost their chances for the postseason.
We'll continue to see the rest of the standings right now. As I mentioned, Yankees finally did win a game yesterday. They had lost 16 of their previous 21 games to fall 2 games behind the Orioles in the AL East. The Guardians rolling right along in the AL Central, 5 up on the Twins, 7.5 up on the Royals. The Seattle Mariners, 2 games up on the Astros out in the West. The Astros got off to an awful start and have really picked things up here over the last month and a half. Mentioned the Phillies. Brewers rolling along in the Central, 5.5 up on the Cardinals, 9.5 up on the Pirates, and 10 up on Jen's Cubbies. Jen's Cubbies have come a little. They've won 3. They've won 3 in a row. They're picking things up, but they've fallen back.
Well, in a preview for the football season, at least we ate the White Sox.
Wait, hold on.
Yep. When I drove past the White Sox stadium the other day, it was just kind of like, hey.
Well, at least we ain't.
Special gestures.
There we
White
go.
Sox are 27-68. That is a league best.
At least we
worst
ain't.
record, if
Yes,
you will.
league best
worst.
Yes.
The Rockies and the Marlins challenging them there for who can stink the worst. 803-404-6100. That is Chop Talk here. We'll come back, get back into some college football. Josh Harris due up at 8:30 as well. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Zero Risk Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. And as we roll through the back half of the summer, you probably want to get out and enjoy the lake or enjoy time with the family. Do something entirely different than cleaning your home. And that's totally understandable. And that's why the cleaning pros at Zero Risk Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning are ready to help you. And guess what? They got a special deal for you this month. 15% off all cleaning services. That's right. Carpets, rugs, tile, air ducts, everything. Whatever you need, 15% off. So call Zero Res today, 803-262-4020, and schedule that appointment. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and get 15% off all cleaning services. If you use the internet, you can go to ZeroResColumbia.com, use the promo code Summer Sale. Again, that's ZeroResColumbia.com. Use the promo code Summer Sale, and you also will get 15% off. So whatever it may be, Zero Res is there to keep the house sparkling. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
hate to say it, but wow, it's really looking good this morning. We're just not seeing any accidents, not getting any reports that there might be some big slowdowns or anything. So fantastic. Well done. Well done. As far as your forecast goes, it's pretty nice out there this morning. It's and overall, we're looking for a high today of 95, 92 tomorrow, 95 on Saturday. Could see some scattered storms tomorrow and a few afternoon or evening storms on Saturday. But it's breezy, kind of holding steady, 76 on the early game.
Josh Harris coming up from Darlington Raceway in the next segment. We will have our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge where Jen has handed out the sheets and Preston has taken notice that he is falling a tad bit behind.
It's time for a players-only meeting. Time for a players-only meeting. We got to call everybody in. We got to have a discussion.
Yeah, it's getting you're gonna have to start making a push. As we said, this is about the time last year Reggie got hot and made a push of his own. But yeah, it's probably about time you ramp things up. So we'll do that in the next segment. One of the things we talked about this morning is the linebackers for South Carolina. Preston's pointed out Phil Steele. All right, whatever you want to believe or whatever you want to think, it is talking season. But Phil Steele with the 21st, or ranking South Carolina as the 21st rated linebacking group in the country. And we talked about it because it's a brand new room. It's going to be entirely different. And does that give you hope for the defense moving forward that they're more athletic and a little bit more experienced now?
It is a brand new room to the South Carolina, but they're a very experienced room as far as college football. And I think that's what might give me a little bit of hope for, say, because these guys have all played a substantial amount of college football. And I feel like you have a veteran group led by somebody who's been here a long time in Debo. That's what I would look for in the linebacker room. I do feel like they've upgraded athletically from what they were last year through the transfer portal, through additions and guys leaving. And so I think there is reason to feel a little bit better about the South Carolina linebacker room.
Brad Crawford joined Jay Phillips on Tuesday on the postgame show. One of the things that was discussed is how good can the defense be? Here is what Brad Crawford had to say.
Yeah, I feel considerably more confident on the defensive side of the ball than I do offensive as far as, Gamecocks defense can finish in that top 8, the mid to top tier of the SEC on that side. Clayton White obviously, struggled the first 6 or 7 weeks last season, and then he found something in mid-October. I think a lot of it was the schedule lightened up a bit, but putting that fifth defensive back on the field seemed to really help this defense. The Gamecocks were flying around, something they didn't do the first half of the 2023 slate. And like you said, there's a ton of starters back. They've added those 2 quality linebackers from the portal. Tonka Hemingway's a guy that I spoke to a NFL draft analyst a couple weeks ago, and he thinks Tonka Hemingway is someone who can creep into that, late first-round range if he has a good final season. And then, of course, there's Dylan Stewart. Clayton White did not have a 5-star talented edge rusher that he could just throw out there, 15 to 20 snaps a game last season. Now he has that. I don't think he has to lean on Dylan Stewart to be a superstar. But, watching that kid in the spring game, he's somebody the Gamecocks can use and use immediately on that side of the ball.
Preston, I like Brad a lot. We've had him on our show. We'll have him on our show more as we get closer to football season. I don't know if I agree with his feelings of being that confident in the defense. It is, for much like for everything, it is a show-me season. You from game 1 to game preferably 13, it is a show me type of season, and the defense is going to have to be ready to go very early in the season.
Well, what is his confidence based in? What his confidence could be based in the idea that at every level, at all three levels, they have returners coming back. Now, also the idea of, well, just because you've been here a long time means we've seen you play for a long time.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that you've necessarily improved, or you may have hit your ceiling 2-3 years ago. So, yes, they are returning. What does that mean? Does that mean that they will get better? We don't know. So I think the confidence is based on the idea that, yes, there are a lot of familiar names, and then the guys that they had it are experienced. My question would be, okay, yes, it is your 6th year playing. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're very good. You could have been very average for 6 years.
You can make the case if you're playing in college in your 6th year, something's not right for you to be playing professionally in your 3rd year.
There is that argument.
There is that. For the South Carolina to make a bowl game, defense is going to need to be good. One of the things that Brad talked about was South Carolina's bowl chances. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, Gamecocks getting a bowl invite, man. To be honest with you, for the last 5 or 6 months, I go through every SEC schedule. I predict these wins, losses for every team. I've hit South Carolina a lot in my career these last, decade plus, but I didn't feel good about Gamecocks bowl chances until, speaking to a few other staffers here recently. They really feel confident, man, inside that locker room that they can start September hot, possibly win that road game at Kentucky. And Jay, I've been saying all summer, man, that's the most important game of the year, and it's only week 2 for South Carolina.
Right.
I mean, you start off 1-0, then all of a sudden the LSU game, while it's a winnable game, it's not a must-win. But you start 0-1 in Lexington, you come back home to Williams-Brice, you have to be LSU because it's going to be very hard to, pull out of an 0-2 SEC hole and still get to 6 wins.
You didn't really answer the question, did you?
Yeah, he kind of weaved and wallowed around that one. Listen, I've stated my position very clearly. If we're not going to go to the CFP, can we at least get to Vegas?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get us to Vegas. I know there was some talk about the Birmingham Bowl. I don't want to do that. But I think we have to get to the 7-win mark to really start having the conversation about Vegas. Looking at the schedule, it's going to be a challenge for sure. But I think everybody's in agreement that Kentucky game is huge.
803-404-6100. We will obviously continue to talk about this next week. We will be live, or Preston and I will be here. Jen will all be here. We will be sending out the wolf pack known as Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, and Terry Ford will be taking on Dallas for SEC Media Days. Look out, Dallas. You don't know what is heading your way with those 3, but we will be out there next week live from SEC Media Days in Dallas, so you make sure you want to tune in, and we'll have plenty of coverage from that. Coming up next, we head to Darlington. Josh Harris, Darlington Raceway president, joins us. Boy, the countdown is on for him. What'd you say, 51 days?
52 days. Let me see.
50 days until soccer, 51 days till football, 52 days until NASCAR in Darlington. We'll catch up with Mr. Harris and get his thoughts on the Chicago street race and look ahead to this coming weekend where the boys head to Pocono. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. You've heard Jen giving those temperatures out there, and it is warm, warm, warm. But you know what? At the Gunner household, it is cool, cool, cool. All because over a year ago, AAA Heating and Air came and put a brand new heating and air unit in our house, and it has been fantastic. That air conditioner is doing just incredible work. You can get the same kind of service right now. And AAA Heating and Air, Roy and Dana Finley, they are offering incredible deals. Give them a phone call. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. 803-677-1500. First off, you can get a free replacement estimate. They'll tell you how much it costs to put a brand new heating and air unit in your home. Just give them a phone call and ask for that free replacement estimate. And then after that, when you make that purchase, right now, no payments, no interest for a full year. That's right. You heard that right. No payments and no interest on a brand new heating and air unit for a full year. So call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-677-1500.
Pretty much a historic morning. No accidents, no slowdowns. All seems to be moving along beautifully, and we're good with that. Have no issues there. Looking for a high today of 95, 92, maybe some scattered storms, she says, on Friday, tomorrow. And Saturday, maybe a few afternoon or evening storms, a high of 95 before we end up getting into the upper 90s for several days. But currently, we have a little bit of a breeze. The sun is shining beautifully, and it's 78 on the early game.
Bowman has won at Chicago.
celebration into the wall. But Alex Bowman's happy.
That was the call as Alex Bowman holds off Tyler Reddick in downtown Chicago on Sunday. It ends an 80-race winless drought. He overcame the rain. He overcame Jen trying to steal his car, and he overcame Tyler Reddick, all in Chicago. And joining us now, as he does each and every week, our good buddy Josh Harris, Darlington Raceway president. And I'll sit back. We'll sit back and let you and Jen discuss what all we saw in Chicago last Sunday.
Rock on, Josh.
Well, I mean, Jim was there, so she'd probably give a little better assessment. But from what I saw, everything looked really good for the weekend, all the way up through the command of fire engines on Sunday, and then that 10% chance of rain turned into a significantly higher chance with those storms going north of the city and just kind of continuing to come by. But if you look at Saturday, the racing there with the Xfinity Series and Kyle Larson and Shane Van Gisbergen and going back and forth, I think that was some of the best just racing we've seen. I think the street course itself puts on good racing. I just wish we could see it for the Cup Series under a fully dry track. So overall, a little disappointing end, but a much better weekend overall than the first year.
Yeah, I think the Xfinity Series overall helped us see what a good track it is, what good racing there is. And yeah, when watching SVG and Kyle race and carry on, and he thought, you're just going to see an extension of that for the Cup race. And it didn't quite happen. But that darn rain, it just really impacted things. And then, there's tire strategies. Things are sloppy, and that's why, SVG was kind of taken out, and then Kyle Larson locked him up, and it just totally changed the dynamic. But I if we could get a dry race in, I think it could be just a really awesome event.
Josh, I don't know how much you can share with us on your knowledge, but are we anticipating, or Jen, I'll ask you, are we anticipating a third year of the Chicago Street Race? Do we anticipate this?
Yeah, I mean, the original agreement with the city was for 3 years. Okay. So, I think everyone anticipates it going back. Now, from what I understand, the city does have the ability, I think up until 6 months before the next event to back out of it. But I would imagine if that's the decision they're going to make, they would make that sooner rather than later. I don't think they would string it along. From everything I heard, the mayor was there, is at the driver's meeting. They had him in a fire suit. Yep. A lot of positive comments overall. I mean, there's when you're disrupting a downtown area, a popular city park, there's always going to be some, I think, some people that feel differently about the event, and that's to be expected. But overall, I feel the momentum coming out of it was positive. I would imagine from a NASCAR perspective, they'd like to finish out the 3 years to give it a full opportunity to see what happens. But I guess we'll wait to see. I said signs are pointing toward positively, but you just never know.
It appeared that the stands were pretty crowded in a lot of areas. The stretch that we were in between 1 and 2, not as crowded as it was last year, but who knows what that had to do with. But overall, I felt like the fan area was well received and seemed to have a good crowd there and milling about. There seemed like just a lot of people, a lot of enthusiasm, and watching some different newscasts, it looked like a lot of people were embracing it and said, this is great. I've never gotten to see anything that's NASCAR related before. So it's really, I truly think it has brought a lot of eyes to the sport.
Real quick, news yesterday. I don't want to spend much time on this because I want to talk a little Darlington, but real quick, other newsy stuff from yesterday. Noah Gragson landing with Front Row Motorsports. Sixth team in 4 years.
Journeyman.
Yeah. That's a true journeyman. Your two thoughts on Gragson now becoming, I think it's the third, correct me if I'm wrong, the third driver from Stuart Haas to now land with the team.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're all having to separate, and find new teams. So Josh Berry's crew chief, he's where did he just land? Was it Spire?
Spire.
Spire, yeah. So seeing they're having to find new rides, but Gregson does hop around a little bit. And I'm not really sure what's behind that. I don't know if Josh knows.
That's why I didn't know if there was something there. Josh, anything you can share with us on that?
Well, I think, Noah, this is really his third year as a full-time Cup Series driver. He had success as a full-time Xfinity Series driver for Junior Motorsports. And during that time, he did drive some one-off races in the Cup Series for a number of different teams. So I think that stat's a little skewed. His first Cup season, halfway through it, he had the unfortunate incident where he, was suspended for the rest of the year. Came back this year with Stewart-Haas on what was supposed to be a multi-year deal, and then with the team closing, that's kind of unfortunate. So it probably looks and sounds a little worse than in reality it is. But I think Noah's a talented driver. This is a good spot for him. Like Jen said, it's the third of four of the Stewart-Haas drivers to have something confirmed for next year. It leaves Ryan Preece. Gene Haas says he's going to run one car, so I don't know if that's an opportunity for Ryan or if they're looking at another driver. But that's kind of everything's fallen in place from from that Stewart-Haas closing next year.
Yeah, it's kind of nice for them to not have to worry about that throughout the season, that they know they already have a place to land. So that to me is good news.
Yeah.
52 days, 9 hours, 18 minutes, and we tick under 45 seconds until the Cookout Southern 500. How are things being handled down there? You having to boss people around much like Jen tries to do to me on a morning basis?
Well, we've got a great team, so I don't have to I have to do too much bossing around. Everyone knows what they need to do. It's a well-oiled machine, so to speak. Great team, and we're just working hard, getting the facility ready, putting together a lot of our plans for our fan events around the weekend. We've announced the return of the Terrence Caraway 5K on Thursday night of that week. We'll have track laps on Wednesday. So just trying to fill out a full week of fan activities. Campgrounds open on Tuesday. And certainly we'll have some great racing on Saturday and Sunday with the Xfinity Series and then the 75th Cookout Southern 500. So trending well from a ticket sales standpoint. Still got some available. So if you're out there listening, thinking you might want to come spend Labor Day weekend at Darlington, go ahead and get your tickets now on our website at darlingtonraceway.com.
All right, let's head to Pocono. The Tricky Triangle, of course, as we all know it, 3 unique turns, each modeled after a legendary track. I know you guys are already fully aware of this. If you're not, I'll inform you more of it later, Josh and Jen.
Yeah,
but the Tricky Triangle, located in the Pocono Mountains of Long Pond, Pennsylvania. My reading is exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
Preston, I'm not going to lie to you. There's only 2 picks in this week's race. There's 2 picks. Let's see if I'm picking 4th. Let's see if I get to either of my 2 picks.
You will not.
Who is number 1?
You know who I'm going with.
Who are you going with?
Your boy.
Oh,
that's one of them. Yeah, he was a good pick.
Give me your guy, Denny Hamlin.
That's a good pick. Yeah, it's a strong.
Got to make a move here.
He should have 2 in a row, but he got disqualified a couple, 2 years ago. So that's a good strong pick there, Preston.
Thank you, sir.
That's a good one, Josh. You are 1 point behind Jen, 4 behind me, 9 behind Reggie. Where are you going?
Well, I thought about this. And I'm going to stick with Toyota, but I'm going to go with Christopher Bell.
Oh, very nice.
Okay, not a good pick. Not a guy.
Yeah, okay.
Got it, Bell. All right. That brings us to Jen. So I've got a chance here to get my second pick. Jen, you've made a nice run. You're 3 behind me. You're 8 behind Reggie. You're right there. You got to have a good pick this week. Where are you going?
Tyler Reddick.
It's good. It's going to leave me with Kyle Larson, which is the correct pick for the week. I appreciate you.
So you think,
That is a great pick. So I like your pick, Tyler Reddick. Left me with Kyle Larson. And that leaves us with Reggie. Where are we going with Reggie?
And he's going to go with Gibbs, which I listened to a lady sitting behind me who acted like she knew a lot, which I don't know everything, I can promise you. But he said, yeah, that Ty Gibbs, man, his dad owns the team. And I'm like, no. But, she just kept yammering on with things that it's like I just kept wanting to say, try again. It's pretty funny.
Yep, nobody can be like me, knowing that Pocono opened in 1968, has the longest front stretch in all of motorsports, 3,727 feet. This track is built for fast cars. Hamlin and Larson, Preston, one of us will win this week. Josh, we always appreciate it, buddy.
All right, thank you. Have a good week.
Hey, thanks, Josh.
Always glad to provide my information for you to take back and share with everybody there.
Everything that he reads.
Did you know?
He reads well. Yeah, right. I had no idea.
Tricky Triangle.
That is brand new information.
I'm glad I'm here to support and help each and every morning. We'll come back. I'll offer more great information, and we'll all laugh together on a Thursday morning. It is the early game. If you're like me, you spend a lot of your time focusing on these key NASCAR statistics, learning, getting ready for everything. You don't think about your roof. I mean, why would you? It's just something on your house. But you know who thinks about your roof? Mid-State Roofing. Larry Leitner and the family, for 30 years, they've been thinking about roofs. That's why they've been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and they are ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's how much they think about your roof and making sure that it is ready to keep you dry. Let's be important. That's a big part of the roof. So whether you have summer thunderstorms, those high winds, heavy rains, you want to make sure that roof is working properly. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Mid-State Roofing has someone ready to take your phone call if there is an issue. They'll help you with a maintenance contract. Give them a phone call today and mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, somebody is there. So if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Are tax troubles weighing you down? Are they stressing you out, keeping you up at night? If so, don't let this hold you back any longer. You know, after a couple years of suspending levy notices, the IRS is planning to send those back out here in 2024. And unfortunately, you may have already received one. It may be bothering you a little bit, but don't let it. Let the Ecton Law Firm help you. You can call today and get a free consultation. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. John Ecton and his team, they are dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good. And they understand the challenges that you're facing. That's why they want to help you. That's why they want to offer you the peace of mind that you deserve. So if you're looking to escape the IRS maze, call the Ecton Law Firm today. Get a free consultation. 803-771-9800. You can also visit them on the web, ectonlawfirm.com. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. You can always text in, as this texter has said. Bill, now we all know that Jen is the one that knows a lot about NASCAR and that Jen keeps you in line. She does have a Nerf gun in there.
It's small but powerful.
He does have it. So if you can always go and you can watch our program. You can stream us live. You can go to the Game TV, powered by Integrated Media and sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Go to YouTube and check out the Game TV. And you'll see, if you ever pay attention, I've got multiple screens around me to protect me from Jen's Nerf gun. It's like a small bunker.
It's not like you're using the screens for anything valuable as far as content for the show.
This one is, yeah.
Yeah.
This one's kind of valuable because it tells me what time and certain.
I don't want people to think that you're using multiple screens because you're trying to do your job better. It's just because you're fearful.
Oh no, that's exactly why they're here. They're protecting me.
Safety first.
Preston's left out in the open. He's just a lone wildebeest wandering around out there.
I'm good. I feel confident. I feel confident.
Yeah, he's just out there. But, 803-404-6100. Wrapping it up here, we've covered a lot of stuff, a lot of football, some fun basketball discussion, a little chop talk. Always thank you to Josh Harris from Darlington Raceway for our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge, where we've got our picks in for Pocono this weekend. Today, one of the things we also discussed was reviewing Prince's album.
Yeah, we reviewed Prince's Sign of the Times, 1987 double album, the comprehensive Prince album. Whatever version of Prince you like Prince shredding on the guitar, he does that for you here. You like Prince singing weird offbeat lyrics, Starfish and Coffee, great example. You like sexy Prince, Adore. You like freaky Prince, If I Was Your Girlfriend. You like religious Prince, The Cross. All types of Prince are here in this, probably the culmination of his album. I don't think this is the last time we'll see Prince, because I'm pretty sure Purple Rain will show up again.
Couldn't he have done a play on words and been done something artistic, like painting or something like that? Because it could have been Prince's Prince.
Mm-hmm. Prince of Prince. Yeah, Prince Rogers Nelson, his real name.
Yeah.
I actually read that.
It's pretty wild.
Kind of reading up on that, and apparently a solid basketball player, as Charlie Murphy has told us.
Well, that basically that's because he could run fast and run underneath her legs, and keep going, or I guess between their legs.
And apparently, according to Charlie Murphy, quite the ability to make a pancake or two after he would whip up on you in basketball.
Game.
Wow.
Blouses.
What's on the docket for tomorrow to review? Do we know?
Oh, this is a good question. I think, let's see. Let's see. I'm not sure, actually. Let's go check it out. Continue on.
Yeah, let's. We will as we have our countdowns going. Preston's worked his way through quite a these, and he's had quite the week, by the way, going from Guns N' Roses on Tuesday.
So this is what we did this week. We did Exile on Main Street, which was the Stones on Tuesday.
Cool.
Then we did Guns N' Roses. Exile on Main Street, fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Appetite for Destruction, 3 bangers. Didn't love the rest of the album. Sign of the Times for Prince, absolutely awesome. Tomorrow we have Kate Bush, Hounds of Love, and we have a little surprise on that one. So we'll be talking about that, and we will from there be officially entering the top 50, in which I feel like every one of these top 50s could be somebody's number one.
Who tomorrow?
Kate Bush.
Am I wrong that I have no clue who that is?
There's a possibility that that's correct.
Are you familiar with who that is?
Yes, I am.
I am Googling now. Okay. All right. Cool. Learn all about it. Another English singer, I guess.
You may be more familiar with Kate Bush than you think. We'll see.
Okay, we'll find out. All right, that'll be all tomorrow, and we will also talk some more football. Get you ready, because again, Monday we will be covering for the SEC Media Day. Preston, Jen, and myself will be here. We'll be sending out Terry and Jay and Elijah, and they will be live on location out there in Dallas. We'll catch up with Jay some next week. Wake him up early in the morning, make him get up and join us and give us an inside look at what's going on in Dallas. Am interested, by the way, I talked to Jay about this the other day. Am interested to see on Monday where they announce the 2025 SEC Media Day at. Kind of interested to hear that. So, a lot of fun.
A lot of fun this morning. A lot of fun. Soccer. The most soccer talk you probably will ever get if Coach Anna is not in the room.
Very true. It's a very good point. Y'all have a great day. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. It is the summer break. You're probably trying to enjoy yourself. You don't want to clean the home after the kids have tracked some dirt and grass in and wiped it all over the carpets, the rugs, the tile, the upholstery. You want to have a nice, clean home, but you don't want to do it, and I don't blame you. Zerorez, however, on the other hand, is ready to make that house sparkling, and they're offering an incredible summer deal to take advantage of. Right now, you can take advantage